Hi, I'm Super Sue Finneron, and this is the Get Your Shit Together podcast, first edition. SHIT obviously is an acronym for success, health, inspiration, and transformation. And I'm hoping over the next little while we will be able to accomplish that for you throughout personal stories, throughout interviews with friends and colleagues of mine as we go forward. If there's something that you're interested in and would like to know more about, please message me or leave a comment, and we'll see if we can find some more information for you. So, what's my story? Well, I, a self-proclaimed Super Sue, have been in the automotive business for 26 years and fairly successful. I ran a dealership that became Hyundai's #1 dealer in Canada, and that was pretty great. An amazing team that allowed to make that happen. Anyway, my personal story is not only about the dealership, but also about dealing with disease. So I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis when I was 19 years old. As I'm sure you can imagine, it was a pretty devastating thing at that time. I'd always thought of arthritis as something that I thought of it as an excuse. So if somebody said, oh God, my arthritis is really bothering me today, I won't be able to go for that walk. I thought, oh, come on, it can't be that bad that you can't get your butt up off the couch and come for a walk or a bike ride or whatever it may be. I didn't understand how severe the disease could affect people. Not a clue. And so obviously, consequently, I probably wasn't very understanding for those people, and I probably hounded them no end. I basically went from working in a restaurant and having a blast. I was probably drinking way too much. I was 19 years old, and it was a good time in life for me. One day I had a sore toe, and so I went to emergency, and I had it checked out. And the doctor said, you know what, I think it's probably just a bit of arthritis. Well, within, I would say, about 4 weeks of that initial diagnosis, let's say that was the end of June, I could barely walk. Beginning of August, I was told by the doctors that I should be taking 10 of these tablets a day, and if you feel dizzy, then you should probably stop taking so many. At the time, I was getting ready to go off to Ontario. I live in British Columbia on the west coast of Canada, and I was getting ready to go back to school at the Canadian Automotive Institute. And I don't think it really had hit me that bad. I thought, well, this kind of sucks, but it'll be okay. I'll get over it. We'll get through it. When I got to Ontario, I went to the Arthritis Centre of Canada, some of the best doctors in arthritis around the country, and they prescribed that I needed to go on gold treatment. And this was going to be injections once a month and increased risk of leukemia, and even worse than that, the dreaded hair loss. Well, of course, being 19 years old, I was like, there's no way I'm losing my hair. Vanity gets us every time. I was told, though, that if I didn't take those drugs, that I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was 25 years old, that the disease would eat my joints away so bad that that would be the end for me. So when I first recorded this initial podcast, I glanced over, or I'd forgotten the feelings that I had around that. And I sent this off to a friend, and she listened, and she said, yeah, but you didn't touch on how hard it was for you. And I'm the type of person that if I have a challenge before me, I find a way around it. I find a solution. I figure it out. If I can't climb over it, I'm going around it. I find a way to solve the problem. And so I also like to focus on the positive rather than the negative. And so I blocked a lot of the emotion out that I went through. I blocked it out of my brain. And she reminded me, and we were out for coffee, and she brought it home very quickly. And so I decided I wanted to share it with you. Imagine being 19 years old. You're in a province where you've never been before, except for maybe a day or two. You don't know anybody. I remember getting to residence, and where they had assigned me to live was on the top floor. Um, no elevator that I remember. I didn't know a soul in my room. There were 6 bedrooms to one apartment, and I could barely walk. I couldn't some days brush my teeth. I couldn't brush my hair. I had to walk to school. Now, yeah, it was only across the street. I mean, maybe half a mile to get to class. But some days I had a hard time getting out of bed. So to think about actually going to class um, was scary and daunting. And I didn't have a car. And it was brutal. See, I'm gonna tear up now. Anyway, um, you go through the steps of, I think I can remember, looking up at the sky and kind of, I'm not a religious person, but going, God, why me? And I always remember in Buddhism, I'm told that you pick your next life, you pick your next challenge. And I was thinking, why on earth would anybody choose this challenge? I couldn't understand it. Imagine being 19 years old and you've been fit and active and fun and you love to do almost anything. And all of a sudden you're faced with the fact that you won't be doing any of that. None of it. You can't be a regular person. If you want to go to the grocery store or go to the mall or whatever, you have to think, okay, I've got 20 minutes that I can probably spend on my feet before I won't be able to walk. Imagine what it's like to have people stare at you as you walk funnily down the road without a cane, without crutches, because heaven forbid I give in to that. Imagine. I even had, I remember a time when I had somebody say to me, so what's it like to be a cripple? At first I thought, how incredibly insensitive. This guy's a jerk. But then I thought, no, I think he's just very curious and he actually wants to know. I can't remember how I answered him, but the question still stands out in my mind because I've never, ever thought of myself as a cripple. And I've never ever thought of myself as incapable. I get scared to do things. I get scared to try on new things and new challenges, but I fight through it. I find a way. If I can't climb over the top, I go around to the side. And that is what I hope to bring forth in this podcast for you over the next while. How did this podcast come to be? I have been, or have the pleasure of being on something called Y Tribe. And it was inspired by the name of Jerry Visca, who is from Ontario. And Jerry's dream is to inspire 1 million people around the world about what their why is. So he wants to inspire 1 million whys. And I, through a longtime friend, Mia Jarrett, was asked to become a part of her Y Tribe. And so basically a Y Tribe is a group of women, sorry boys, and we get together once a month on social media, on Zoom, and we meet to discuss what we want to do and what our projects are. And my Y Tribe has someone reading a children's book, someone starting a fashion company, somebody doing work around meaningful connections, meaningful family, meaningful friendships, other family connections. And it's an amazing, vast array of women and skills and knowledge and talent. And I'm very proud and honored that I get to be a part of that group. And their support is the reason that we are here with this podcast. And so I'm hoping that it will be something that lasts for a really long time. Now, back to my story. 19, living in residence, and not going to go on traditional medication. So I found a naturopath who was in Aurelia. Now, this is 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, naturopathic medicine was not really something that people took seriously. But it was the way I chose to go. And so when I first started out, my doctor recommended that I go on a 7-day fast and cleanse. And again, imagine living in university residence. Everyone around you is pretty much first year away from home. I'd already been gone for 2 years. So they're partying, they're drinking, they're eating god-awful junk food. Like, they're not watching their diet. And I have to go a whole entire week without eating. Well, I have always thought if I could do that, I can do pretty much any task that's put before me. So I did, and it made a massive change. I also stopped drinking. I stopped eating junk food. I didn't drink pop. Again, I'm blessed that at 19 years old, I was told, you need to stop drinking that stuff, because it's something that I've been able to stop ever since then and not go back to. I think pop was probably my vice at that age, and obviously not good for you. But glad that I haven't been drinking it for the last 30 years. I'm just trying to think about how I can relate more of the emotions and the feelings. I made it through that first year, and I met someone, and we moved in together. But my arthritis started to take another turn for the worse again. And there were nights when I would lay in bed next to him, and I would be in tears because the pain was so bad that I was going to have to think about rolling over, if you can imagine that. I don't know if you ever had a really bad back, or maybe a sprain or a break, and you knew that to move your body, you were going to be in that much pain. It wasn't even worth it to roll over. There were times when I crawled to the bathroom. There were times when, thankfully, he was 6'5" and tall and strong, and he would carry me places. I recently have been engaged with the school where I went, which is now called the Automotive Business School of Canada. And I was reminded that I had applied to run their student auto show. And that would have been 4 months working for the college and running a show. And the reason that I didn't get the job wasn't because I couldn't do the job, wasn't because I wasn't going to be great at it. It was because physically I wasn't going to be able to do it. And that really instilled on me that I don't ever want to not get to do something again because I can't physically do this job. I got to say that. It's hard. It's still hard. Anyway, now I've tried many things over the years to make the arthritis better. And you can imagine there are 8 million different multi-level marketing companies that have supplements that are the best, that have juices that are the best, that have oils and potions and lotions. It's never ending. And I guess because I come from a sales background, people want me on their product because they think it's going to cure me. And then I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to sell the crap out of it, and I'm going to make them a lot of money. Well, I hate asking my friends to buy things from me, so I'm not very good at that. Now, there have been times over the last 30 years where I have needed to go on traditional medication because I wasn't going to be able to do my job if I couldn't. There are times, I went through, 4 or 5 different traditional meds to find one that I wasn't allergic to. I remember one summer I was going to work at a beer garden for my Rotary Club. And I was getting dressed in my white shorts and my white t-shirt. And I looked and I had spots everywhere. It looked like I had the measles. And I was like, what the? And it was an allergic reaction to the medication. And so, I mean, who the hell wants to buy beer from a spotted beer girl? Ew, yuck. We all have these challenges in life, and I don't want anybody to ever feel alone or unheard or, um, we have them, but you gotta accept them, find a way through, and push past, find another way. Now, for me, the most effective thing, of course, has been a low stress life, which I don't usually have, but it sure makes a difference. Diet. I am gluten free. I'm corn free. I should be sugar free, but I love chocolate, so I eat chocolate. And I also love red wine, so I do drink the odd glass of red wine. But the biggest thing for me is exercise. And I cannot say enough to anyone, no matter if it's a physical thing that's bothering you, if it's an emotional thing that's bothering you, exercise is the key to life. Really, it is. Um, it can take me. I can be having a really down day, and I go to the gym and I have a hard workout, and I'm ready to give somebody a hug. It really makes a massive difference. Also, it has great side effects. Obviously, you stay trim and you stay healthy and you keep your doctor happy. Now, I turned 50 years old this summer, and I am not in a wheelchair. And I teach spin a few times a week. I'm skiing, I'm golfing, I'm doing almost everything that I want to do. And that's because I made the mental decision to take charge of my life, to take charge of my health, find a way, not over, but around. Anyway, I hope that you will continue to join me throughout these podcasts and learn a little bit more about yourself and the wonderful people around you. Thanks for joining me on the first episode of the Get Your Shit Together podcast. I'm Super Sue Finneron, and we'll see you soon.